guys, it's Marina with Artworthy Life, where I teach Christ-centered art journaling that gets you into God's Word every day. And I am so thrilled to welcome you to day 28 of the October Doodle a Day Challenge. You'd think after 28 days that I'd be able to say it right. But what's exciting about today is it's the official last day of the challenge. So if you have been with us this whole time, or you've at least been catching up on each of the doodles as we go throughout the day, congratulations. Give yourself a big pat on the back. You have done a great job. And I have seen a lot of your posts. You guys are amazing how much you keep up with these doodles. It's been unbelievable. I'm really excited for today's because we get to do one last plaid hurrah. I'm so excited. I know there's been a lot of you guys who have been having a love-hate relationship with our plaid, but I wanted to do plaid enough that you guys would be able to practice it and maybe actually feel more comfortable with it by the end. So let's take a quick review over all the plaid we've done in the last month. Most of these are ones that we have kind of added just little bits of plaid to, but some have a ton of plaid in them. So let's look at a few that we've done over the last month. Here's our plaid with, here's our apples with a little plaid bow. Isn't that sweet? A crate of apples. Here is the highly requested scarecrow with a super cute plaid jumper on. And here is a plaid scarf that goes really well with her little jumper. Isn't that sweet? We're doing almost the exact same plaid on all of these. Then, of course, we can't forget our apple pie and our apple spiced chai in with a plaid napkin next to it. And then we had this sweet knitted / woven sweater that I made that is probably unrealistic to actually be able to make, but here it is. And it's so cute because it has plaid as well as something that looks more like knitting. So super cute. And then, of course, our can of pears. Unless you like peaches, then you can just pretend these are peaches, but they are canned pears with a little plaid cloth on top. And then, of course, our little fox that we just did with a little plaid bow on his neck. All of these have been so fun. You can see them all together here, and they're really, really fun when you line them all up. So I hope you guys have been enjoying having some sweet plaid inspiration for fall, and that you can take that and you can use any colors you want and make it match. It's really fun, even though I know it's been hard for some of you. But I hope it's been a learning experience. Hey, it's no fun if we're just doing the same thing all the time. So we're doing plaid so you guys can learn something new, and it's been really, really great. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and start with some scripture because that's the best place to start every day. And as I mentioned yesterday, we already finished the Sermon on the Mount. It was a beautiful, beautiful passage, and I enjoyed reading it through it with you guys this whole month. So I'm just going to read an extra bonus verse for today. It's one that's been coming up recently, still going along with that theme of fear and love from yesterday as well. This is just another verse, and this one is from 2 Timothy 1:7. It says, "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." 2 Timothy 1:7. I love that verse because basically that tells us if we are afraid, it's not of God, and we need to let him have it. And we've just been experiencing that this week. So I was really, really thrilled to read that verse with you guys today. Alrighty, let's get right into our doodle. So we're going to start with, do you know what color it is? Leave in the comments if you do know. And I will see comments. I know this is a recording, but I will see comments, and I will be expecting participation. I'm just saying. While the teacher is away, the mice do not get to just play. They have to paint. No, I'm just kidding. So anyway, we're going to do a light tan. If you guessed that, you guessed correctly. And we're going to paint in the back of this hat with a light tan. Now there's a little bit of leaf detail on the front of the hat. We're going to paint that in later. So just kind of paint around those leaves. And I'm using my size 3 round Liquitex watercolor brush. And I'm going to pretty much paint the whole thing in with this light tan color. I'm going to skip this little band across the forehead for now. We'll come in with another color and do that. And then we're going to do the brim right here as well. Okay, and then what we do now, if you guys remember, is if you're doing plaid, you want to do your shading on your plaid before you add your plaid. So you want to add the shading on whatever the shape is before you add the plaid. So we're going to add some shading. I'm going to add some brown to this hat, kind of on the brim here. And I'm just going to smooth that out with some water. We're going to put some dark brown under the brim. I'm going to let that go ahead and be nice and dark under there. And then I'm going to bring in that darker shade on the hat a little bit more. This is kind of a rust color brown. It's kind of brown mixed with that rust color we've been using all month. And if you don't know how to mix up the rust color, it is crimson red, which is like a true red, mixed with orange and a little bit of brown. And all of those colors are pretty much true colors, like a real orange and a real brown. And I'm just going to use this to create a little shadow around the leaves as well. I'm going to leave it kind of light in the middle. And I've turned my painting so that it's easier for me to dig into those little corners. I'm going to get some brown and run it along this band. Of course, that band is going to create a little bit more shadow. And you'll see your watercolors will start to fade on their own. They will start to feather into creating some little shadows on their own if you just keep your painting slightly wet. Okay, so I'm just creating the shadows around here, and then I'm taking a clean wet brush and kind of brushing it into the top of this hat a little bit. I'm going to turn this hat around, and I'm going to do a little shadow, a little bit of shadows on the little bumps that are kind of the puckers in the hat. So it's going to be a light brown, and I'm going to do it just on the sides of those. And I want to make sure these are shaded really well because I'm not going to be able to give them much more shading after the plaid is added. So I want to make sure those are nice and dark. So I'm just going to make them a little bit more harsh than I normally would. And I'm going to switch to my liner brush right now for this. Get some dark brown and black. Just come into those edges pretty strong so that when I add my plaid, those are definitely visible right there, those little bumps. And then I can take a clean wet brush and kind of fade them out onto the right side. And you can see the shape of the hat starting to take shape. And obviously that's a little bit more of a dramatic bump than I normally would do, but it gives it a little bit more definition because once we add all that plaid, it's going to cover up some of that shading and we want to make sure it's still visible. So I'm adding a little bit more black around these leaves just because the shading in those little dimples is so dark. I think these leaves could use a little bit more happening. So I'm adding a little bit of black into that area. And then kind of up into the hat like that. Okay, and then we're going to go along the top of the hat and a little bit more on the brim. And I'm also going to add a little shading around the edges so the edge doesn't just fade off into the white of the background. I'm just going to kind of add a little bit of border. So in other words, paint this hat in as if there is not going to be any plaid. So think about where your shading is going to be. If there isn't any plaid, where do you need to add some shading to make this hat look finished? And then the plaid is just like a bonus on top. So that's kind of how I think about it when I'm adding all the shading before the plaid goes on. So consider that while you're adding the shadows. I'm going to adding a little bit to the edges as well. Even though I know that's the highlighted areas, I don't want it to fade off into the sky. Like that. Okay. Oh, it's so cute. I love it. Okay. So we're just gonna fade that in. So there is our base coat for our hat. So basically just getting all that shading in before we start on the plaid. So now I'm just gonna tap on that and see if it's dry, and it's pretty dry right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix up. Do you guys know what the color is? We've done this plaid so many times, you probably have this memorized, right? If you don't, that's okay. I'm gonna tell you. We're gonna have brilliant yellow, and we're gonna mix it with a little bit of orange. That's gonna create our golden yellow, and that's what we've been using for the bold stripes that go down first on our plaid. And I do sometimes add a little bit of brown. I'm gonna do that today to keep it warm and not so like vibrant. Okay, so we're gonna use our number 3 Liquitex brush if you have a round brush that's similar in size to this one. And we're gonna create straight lines. Let me make sure this is dry over here. If it's not, it won't work as well. I'm gonna start over here. We're gonna create straight lines coming straight down across the brim of the hat. And then we're going to take those same lines and carry them into the top of the hat as if there's no separation in those two areas. So we're just going to create big, bold, kind of golden stripes. And it's funny, as you draw this in, it just looks strange, you know, going straight across, even though there's curves in the hat and all of that. But you will find, even though probably the fabric would curve, you know, it wouldn't be perfectly straight across, it actually still works. The plaid still works if you just go straight across, and it's simpler to do it that way. It is easier for your brain to wrap around if you just go ahead and go straight across. Now I'm going to soak up some of this golden color because it's a little bit brighter than I want it to be in some areas. I'm going to let that start to dry. So while that's drying, I'm going to work on these leaves, and I'm going to keep my leaves mostly warm colors. I'm going to use a sunny yellow on this leaf in the background here. There's a couple of leaves here in the background. And then I'm going to use some green, actually, on the leaf on the left. So this green is going to be olive green, and that's just kind of a true olive green, almost straight from the palette. I'm just going to add that in right here for these leaves. And I'm just going to fill those in. I'm really not doing much detail there. And I'm waiting for the golden stripes to dry. I'm going to take my smallest liner brush and lift a little bit of that green off so it's a little lighter. I want it to show up as green and not as like a brown when you just glance at it. So I'm just going to lift up some of that green. And to lift color, you just take a dry brush, which is called a thirsty brush, and you sweep it along whatever surface you need to pick up some pigment off of. And your brush will act like a sponge and it'll just soak it up. It's very cool. Okay, now I'm going to turn my hat sideways because my stripes are dry, and I'm going to add the same golden stripes, so same exact color we had before. We're going to go this way, crossways across all of these stripes. Okay, and as you're pulling these across, remember you're going from the end of the hat all the way to the brim, so don't miss any of those areas, and just try to keep your lines straight. Sounds like a what do you call it? Arm wrestling duel or a thumb war. I declare a thumb war. 5, 6, 7, 8. Try to keep your wrist straight. So try to keep your plaid straight. Do that. Okay, so, and look at that. Let me just show you again. You could leave it like this. I mean, the plaid, you'd have to paint in the band. But look at that plaid. That already looks like gingham or something, and it's super cute, just like that. You could just leave it like that. It's so cute. Okay. You guys, I'm liking the plaid, so I hope you guys are learning to love the plaid because it's so cute, okay? It's really cute. All right, we're gonna add some red to this little leaf in the center, and we're not taking a lot of time with this leaf. I'm just filling it in with some red. So I'm gonna do some red, and I'm gonna kind of pull the leaf toward me so that it creates little veins, little tiny veins somewhat on that leaf. And it's not going to show up a ton because it is so small. Well, I could do more detail, but I'm focusing on our plaid. So I don't really want to take the time to do as much detail on these leaves and draw away from the hat. And then on this band, I'm going to go ahead and see if that's dry. Okay, the band is ready. So I'm going to use the same red. This is going to be that crimson mixed with a little bit of orange. That's what I just used for the leaf. We're going to do this across the band that goes across the top of the hat. And I'm just going to fill this in around the leaves. And I'm going to try to leave some white space around the leaves a little so that this doesn't just blend into the rest of it. And this crimson is a little bit brighter than I want it to be. So, and it's orangey, which is good, but it's a little brighter than, say, some of the other paintings that we've done. So I'm going to take a little bit of brown and just sweep it into there a little bit to mute it some. Especially down here by those leaves, I'll probably add a little bit more shading. Let me grab some brown. I'm going to add it kind of around that red leaf in that corner because, of course, those little leaves that are kind of the detail on the hat would be creating shadows as well on the hat. So I'm doing some little shadows basically around there. And then I'm just going to bring that up into the rest of the hat like that. Okay, and then we're going to continue with our plaid using my smallest liner brush. First, I'm going to mix up my color before I grab that brush. I like to mix my colors with my bigger brush if I need to mix up a color. I like to mix it up with the bigger brush first and then switch to the smaller brush. It's just much easier than trying to stir a bunch of paint with a tiny little brush. The only exception is when I really don't need that much paint. So I obviously don't want to mix up like a ton. And if I use a bigger brush, sometimes it'll mix up too much. Okay, I'm going to add a little brown to this. So it's going to be an orange. Let me show you what this color looks like. Kind of an orangey color. And I want a little bit more brown added to it. So it ends up being like a dark pumpkin color. And then I'm going to load up my smaller brush with all that paint. And we're going to go between the golden stripes. So look at your golden stripes and you're only going between them. While I'm doing these little stripes, I'm going to be careful to make sure they're nice and thin so that my golden stripes don't just disappear next to all of these. And while I'm painting this, I want to remind you guys, if you have absolutely loved the Doodle a Day, you've really enjoyed it and you're not really ready for it to stop, because today is the last day of the October Doodle a Day, I want to let you know that we are continuing the Doodle a Day project challenge as our DIY advent calendar. If you look behind me, I have our advent calendar for Christmas time set up and ready to go, and I've been preparing all of the demos for the advent calendar Doodle a Day. Now here's the key. This challenge will not be public. It will only be available inside the Artworthy Journal Club. So if you are already a member of the Artworthy Journal Club, you're getting access to it. But if you're not, you still have time to join. And I'm going to put a link in the description of this video. So go to the description of this video and you'll see that link, which will take you directly to the page where you can sign up to be an Artworthy Journal member. And it's only $17 to join. Now, here's the thing. It's $17 a month for 4 live events and a weekly Wednesday challenge, as well as some extra bonuses that I like to throw in. But the price of the Advent Calendar Doodle Demo book that goes along with this challenge is already $10. So $7 more, and you get everything that's coming with the Doodle a Day challenge with the Advent Calendar, as well as all of the resources inside the Artworthy Journal Club already. So it's kind of a no-brainer to just go ahead and join the group and get access to all of that, because the Doodle a Day will not be posted live like this one was. We had a live public Doodle a Day all of October, as you guys know, but this one will be private inside the exclusive Artworthy Journal Club on Facebook, and I'd love for you to join us. So please go ahead and join and get access to that book, because I'm giving my Artworthy Journal Club members free access to my Artworthy, what's it called? To my DIY Advent Calendar ebook, which is a digital PDF download ebook, and it's a $10 value. So they're getting it for free as my Christmas present to them, and you could get it too if you join right now. So click the link in the comments and you will get directed to a page where you can read all about the Artworthy Journal Club and decide if it sounds like something you want to do. And I hope you will, because that means you'll get to do the DIY Advent Calendar with us. It's a really beautiful project. We did it last year, but all the videos for it are kind of archived deep in Artworthy Life somewhere on this page, and you have to go and dig them all up. Or you can just join the Artworthy Journal Club and you'll get it all refreshed, new and improved, nice videos packaged and ready for you every day so that you can do your doodle. And I'm super excited for it, because I know there's a lot of ladies who are in the Artworthy Journal Club who didn't do the Advent Calendar with us and are so excited to do it this year. So if you do join, you'll have a lot of support of a lot of ladies encouraging you and giving ideas and showing what they're going to do with their doodles. You could also use it as an idea. You could follow along with us and use it instead to create fall or Thanksgiving cards. Not fall or Thanksgiving cards, Christmas cards. Just like we did these, you could turn these into fall cards or Thanksgiving cards. So yeah, just some great options for the month of November. And I hope that you'll consider joining us. If you do want to join, click that link. It will be really fun to have you. I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start in on the rust color. And this is, like I said, crimson mixed with orange and brown. And this is going to be our thinnest stripe, and it's going to go right down the center of the golden stripes. So you want this stripe to go even thinner than the last one if you can. And it'll go right down the center of all those golden stripes. And this one is very similar in color to the last stripe. So that's why I like to have the width of it be a little bit different, so you can tell that it's a different stripe when you're just glancing at it. Of course, nobody's going to be looking as closely at our plaid as we are, because we're the one who made it. But still nice to know that you took the time to think about how things were going to line up. Okay, there's our little plaid hat, and I'm going to add a little bit more detail to these leaves. Like I said, I don't want to go over the top with them. I'm just going to add some darker shading to the edges so they do show up a little bit better. I'm going to do that to all of them. I'm going to add a little orange shading to the edge of the yellow leaves so that they show up and stand out against the hat especially. And kind of fade that in with a clean wet brush. Can kind of do that on this one as well. And then I'm going to do a little tiny bit more shading on the band of the hat. I'm going to put some more dark shading underneath the leaves, especially to separate each leaf from the next. So just kind of make those leaves stand out from each other by putting a little bit of dark shading between them. And then I'm going to put some black up underneath. And when I say black, it's a brownish black. I don't tend to use true black. I'm going to put that underneath these leaves to make them stand out a little bit more. And then bring that deep, deep red up and across this hat again, just to brighten it up, because I don't want it to be too muted looking over here, especially next to all those bright leaves. And I'm going to use some water to kind of fade that in. You can kind of just push that to the edge and then let the watercolor pool as it does. Just going to push it around. And what I'm mainly doing is just trying not to overwork this section of the painting. I'm going to use this red to go along the outer edge of this hat just one more time so that it looks a little bit more finished over here. And I am going to draw in those little bumps a little bit better. A little bit more, not a lot. And then kind of on the outer edge. And then I'm going to take that darker crimson one more time and go up underneath the lip of the hat here. Under the brim, I guess it would be called. And that darkest shading is going to really make that pop. Add a little bit of black to that so it shows up more. Okay, and that's all we have for today. That is our final day for the October Doodle a Day Challenge. I have been so thrilled to have all of you with me. Thank you for joining. Thank you for posting all of your pictures. I hope that you'll post a picture of this last doodle demo as well, of this last doodle that you finished. Please post a picture, tag Artworthy Life. If you really enjoyed it and you want to do me a favor, share it with someone you think would also enjoy it. And the best thing you can do if you loved this October Doodle a Day Challenge is come on over to the Artworthy Journal Club. Join us today, and you'll get access on November 1st to the club and all of the events inside the club. Especially my favorite is all the ladies inside the club that have been so wonderful, sharing and learning together. And then you'll also get a free copy of my DIY Advent Calendar ebook, as well as all the demos for that Doodle a Day Challenge coming up in November. And you'll end up with a gorgeous Advent calendar that you can use to count down the days to Christmas, when we celebrate our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who came to this earth to live the life that no one else could live so that we can live with him in eternity. Alrighty. Happy Friday, everybody. I am so thrilled to send you off into the weekend with some scripture, with some doodling, and some art. I will not be live tomorrow, even though that's one more day in October. I'm just going to give you guys the weekend, and I will be back next week. As of next week, our Doodle a Day challenge is no longer public. It will be private inside the group doing the Advent calendar. So I will be live next Friday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, 12:30 Central, and 1:30 Eastern, right here on Art with Life. Thank you guys so much. God bless you, and I'll see you soon.